Next thing, guys, we're going to get into our viewer questions. We actually got a viewer question from Mike Maybelline over on Twitter, sent me this via DMs. You guys, if you have good, thoughtful questions, I will accept those every day of the week. From Mike, says, what apps do you suggest to track activities and food? Other question, how can you track food in a productive and helpful way instead of a doom and depressing way? There are several. I would say MyFitnessPal is a big one. That is kind of a general fitness app. You can put food into there. Lose It is an app that I use for different like macro tracking to make sure I'm eating enough protein, and it's really nice because you can build different recipes on the app, and you can do barcode scanning as well. Pull up the barcode scanner, get it, and it'll bring up that serving size, and that's good to go. Tracking your food with just an app and not a scale, a lot of times with my clients, especially if they are really concerned about weight loss, I will usually give them some homework, and I'll tell them, hey, the first 2 weeks of training, I want you to track every bit of food you eat. That's pretty achievable. This is not something I expect people to do all the time, because that way we get a good idea of where their energy balance is currently and where it's not. And really, this is just kind of an eye-opening exercise. It's kind of a self-reflection exercise. It's not to shame them for eating too much or too little, but it's just to give them the idea of how much food they're putting into their body, because most people don't know. Most people think, yeah, I eat 2,000 calories a day. You have no way of knowing that without actually measuring accurately with a scale and tracking it in an app or even pen and paper. Totally fine. So make sure you guys are doing that. That can be really helpful. Now, the follow-up to this is, how can you track your food in a productive way instead of a doom and depressing way, right? Because most people overeat, or they eat more than they think they do. I'm guilty of this as well. Calorie tracking, one reason this is usually not an effective method of sustained weight loss for a lot of people. Again, we mentioned earlier, like calories in versus calories out is an effective strategy for some, but not most. The reason this is tough is because it doesn't, just like anything we do, it doesn't address the underlying problems with the way you eat or, your relationship with food, things like that. I know there's different apps. I know Noom is a big one right now where it like kind of goes into the psychology of eating, things like that. I have not tried that, so I can't make a recommendation on it. But personally, I would say like see an exercise adherence counselor, see a food counselor, things like that. You can actually go to therapy for these things and say, hey, doc, I don't know what my relationship with food is. I need somebody to help me flesh that out. Let's get some sessions in and let's do that, because somebody looking in from the outside is going to have a really good perspective for that. Not everyone can just like go into therapy at a moment's notice, so I understand that. So in a practical way is I use the 2-week method to avoid that kind of like doom and depressing of, oh my gosh, I'm eating so much, now I have to eat so little, is we can use trackers specifically as a way to give you a barometer for where you're at for just a short period of time. That's why I usually use 2 weeks. And then really it comes down to the individual. This is why having a coach is really helpful. And so when I'm using this with my clients, I usually ask them, like, let's do a lot of follow-up questions. Even when I was chatting with Mike about this question, there was a lot of follow-up questions like, hey, how do you eat? What do your meals look like? How does this affect your behavior throughout the day? Does this cause you to binge later in the day? Do you end up skipping lots of meals? Things like that. And that way we can kind of unlock some of those underlying issues and factors. And so that way we can just get after some of those other things that are going on. So this is a really good question. Thank you so much, Mike. If you guys have questions you'd like to be featured on the show, please let me know. Again, you guys can find me on Twitter at Family of the Dog. I do a lot of my content kind of mixed with health and gaming and nerddom, because I am a nerd who also likes to be healthy, and I want to make sure that you guys are as well. I don't